Okay, so today I wanted to have a quick chat regarding what is being termed as the DJI ban and how the FCC vote that has just happened will impact things moving forward. And that's actually a really good place to start things off. The word ban is pretty emotional. You read the words DJI ban on a video title or a thumbnail, and it will mean different things to different people. But most would assume that a ban on a brand of tech would mean that you've got to stop using that product going forward. YouTube is a simple beast, and to succeed in reaching an audience, you need to be as generically specific as possible, if that makes any kind of sense. So it means we get very final sounding words like ban pushed out when sometimes the actual events do not match, when there's a bit more nuance. The recent history of DJI in the USA is a prime example of this. There is currently no ban in the USA that impacts the sale, ownership, or use of any DJI consumer products. The company is under what some would call a sustained attack from those who feel that data should not be trusted to a large Chinese company that's been accused of being linked to Chinese military authorities. Evidence of wrongdoing is pretty thin on the ground, and there are many accusations thrown out by either side, with you, the consumer, left in the middle wondering what on earth is going on. This video is not looking into the ban in full. We have other videos on this. We are discussing today the FCC recent vote, but I thought it was important to stress that the term ban is something used freely to discuss this topic. But even if DJI end up on the covered list, you will not lose the use of your existing drones unless something else dramatic changes, which it's unlikely to, but I feel like it's important to stress that early on. The strongest action linked to a ban of DJI is the wording now in law from the NDAA, which states that the DJI will be placed on the FCC covered list if a forensic analysis of the risk their products create to the security of the United States is not carried out. This is due to come to pass in December. In simple terms, this would prevent DJI from gaining the required FCC licenses for their products that transmit signals, so for drones, for instance, therefore effectively banning the legal marketing and sale of their products within the United States. When we're talking about FCC licenses here, we are talking about the little FCC sticker on the bottom of your drone, which basically means it's been through all of the declarations and tests to ensure that it complies with the FCC standards for items that are going to be using the communications network. This is a vital standard, a vital approval that's required for any product which is going to be sold in the USA that uses that communication network. Now, many viewers have recently reached out to ask about the FCC vote, and now that's actually happened and how it impacts any future action to be taken against DJI. Again, it's important to remember that this is a vote on increasing the powers of the FCC in general and what they can do against banned entities. So at the moment, that does not include DJI. So this was not a vote on DJI, but a generic increase reasonably dramatically of the powers that the FCC holds. What happened and how will it impact a future DJI ban that is looking more likely the closer to the deadline dates that we get this year? The FCC meet regularly to review work carried out by various niche departments. Prior to the vote, only new applications for licenses were blocked. So this means a company that has been banned, so let's say DJI in January, if that happens, their existing consumer products would remain on the shelves. It's only the new FCC licenses that get stopped. The vote taken means that existing licenses can be revoked by the FCC to take action to, as they word it, secure the networks of the United States. Let us listen to the panel of three giving their views on the vote.
Modular transmitters play a key role in the FCC's Equipment Authorization Program, which aims to protect America's communications networks and equipment from malicious interference. To ensure trustworthy devices reach the market and safely serve their customers, we need a secure program with trustworthy participants. So today we adopt rules to continue preventing bad actors from utilizing these key technologies as a backdoor to jeopardize our national security.
Protecting the integrity of our nation's communications networks is a clear matter of national security. The actions we take today strengthen our commitment to the integrity of our networks by ensuring that equipment and components posing unacceptable risks to the United States are not authorized, marketed, or deployed in our communications systems. With this second report in order, we close potential loopholes in our equipment authorization process. We make clear that our rules apply not just to complete devices, but also to modular transmitters and components that can serve as the building blocks of our networks. We also establish a clear process to prevent the continued importation and marketing of equipment that has already been authorized but is later identified as a security threat. These steps are essential to maintaining the trustworthiness of our supply chain and the reliability of our networks. Our rules must evolve as technology evolves. As communications equipment becomes increasingly modular and globally sourced, national security risks can arise at any point in the supply chain. By clarifying key definitions such as produce by and prohibiting modifications that could reintroduce covered equipment into the marketplace, we are staying ahead of those risks and reinforcing the integrity of our authorization framework. I also welcome the second further notice of proposed rulemaking, which seeks input on additional safeguards, including the treatment of component parts, a clear definition of critical infrastructure, and stronger enforcement tools. These are forward-looking measures that will help ensure our rules remain both rigorous and adaptable. Protecting our communications networks is a collective responsibility, one that spans agencies, industries, and borders.
The FCC has a long history of working together on a bipartisan basis to protect our networks from insecure gear. In fact, it was over 7 years ago now that I first joined with my commission colleagues and proposed that the agency consider ordering the removal of untrustworthy equipment in prohibiting this spy gear from ever entering our networks in the first place. Since then, multiple administrations, Congresses, and FCCs have come together and taken action. The FCC prohibited Huawei, ZTE, and similar bad actors from obtaining federal subsidies. The FCC revoked the authority of entities that would do the CCP's bidding, like China Unicom and China Telecom, from connecting to our networks. The FCC has overseen the removal of insecure gear. We've banned covered-list entities from selling new models of their relevant gear. And we recently prohibited bad labs, those located in China, from participating in our equipment authorization program. These have all been good and important steps towards securing our communications networks, but America's foreign adversaries are constantly looking for ways to exploit any vulnerabilities in our system. For instance, we've known for years that devices produced by Huawei, Hikvision, and other covered-list entities threaten America's national security. But up to now, the FCC's rules have not prevented covered-list providers from continuing to sell previously authorized device models, nor have those rules applied to a device's component parts. These present loopholes that bad actors could use to threaten the security of our networks. So we take action on both fronts today. First, we adopt rules that will allow the FCC to prohibit the importation, marketing, or sale of previously authorized devices on a case-by-case basis. With this new rule, the FCC will have a targeted process it can use to address threats posed by the ongoing sale of devices manufactured by covered-list entities. Second, we adopt rules that will close the component parts loophole. Specifically, these new rules will allow the FCC to prohibit not only finished or completed devices produced by a covered-list entity, but also otherwise compliant devices that include certain component parts produced by those bad actors. Finally, the Commission also seeks comment today on a range of ideas that would further enable the agency to crack down on devices that threaten our national security. And we'll now proceed to a vote, starting with Commissioner Gomez.
Approve.
Commissioner Trusty.
Approve.
The chair votes to approve as well. The item is adopted with editorial privileges as requested.
So at the moment, there is currently something of an import stop on DJI products getting into the US. Now, it isn't permanent, but it is stopping most existing products from getting through in any kind of reliable way. Even Care Refresh returns are being stopped. This has actually led to DJI themselves stopping releasing and importing products and even selling products, etc., into the US marketplace whilst they try to sort that whole import situation out. Either way, that will not hold forever, particularly if DJI takes certain legal action. However, this vote means they will be able to stop the sale, full stop, revoking previous FCC licenses. This would also prevent the legal sale of the eBay drones, as we're now calling them, and purchasing from overseas, etc. The drones produced and sold would no longer be entitled to display the FCC approval sticker. One important factor to consider here is the recently appointed chair of the FCC, Brendan Carr. He is a staunch opponent of DJI and has been for many years, and he's been campaigning against the use of their products in the US on mainly what he calls security grounds. As a commissioner, he worked on a number of proposals and strategies to restrict DJI, and now as chair, as you might expect, his agenda has more power, shall we say. However, revoking previous licenses will not stop the use of the drones you own at the moment. There is vital information to take from the meeting in this very short clip.
The Commission would adopt a procedure whereby we could limit previously granted authorizations of covered equipment to prohibit the continued importation or marketing without prohibiting continued use of such devices.
So, as you heard there, this will not suddenly make the drone in your bag illegal to use or anything. It has the FCC logo and clearance on there, and the intention is not to stop those drones being used by consumers. However, it is likely that the existing stock will, of course, fall off a cliff in terms of updates, etc. Now, I personally think the access to updated apps could cause an issue, but that's a conversation for the future. If you think about it, consumer confidence in standards is pretty important. And if you suddenly had a situation where products people purchased for several $1,000s were illegal to use when they held standards approval at the point of purchase, and there's no safety reason to remove that license, it would undermine consumer confidence and create something of a potential wider issue. So as we stand, to be clear, this does not impact your drone or any FCC licensed product that you see on the shelves or purchase at the moment from DJI. This kind of ban is still an at-source action. So dealing with the import and sale of products, there will be no enforcement or desire to come for your drones, as it were. Also, to be clear, until such time as a ban is actually in place, which does unfortunately look increasingly likely, nothing technically changes. The TikTok rule has to be applied here, and the roadmap of that ban shows that things can change quickly. However, one issue here is that DJI and drones in general are a much smaller niche, with many lobbying against Chinese drones to further the financial interests of US-based companies. So it is potentially unlikely that we'll see any form of senior political intervention on this one. One thing I've asked about on this topic is whether or not I feel this could happen in the UK. Could DJI become restricted or banned here? The simple answer is no. The long and meandering path the ban has taken in the US for several years has no sign of even starting here. There have been studies and reports, and it appears the use of DJI tech is not likely to yet cause the same concerns to UK authorities. I will, of course, keep you updated as and when we get significant news on this one, so do hit the subscribe button if you're new here. Due to the somewhat unpredictable nature of US politics these days, I haven't been running a continuous commentary on this story, as things can change so quickly with the swipe of a pen over an executive order. But if anything significant happens, like this FCC vote that requires explanation, we will of course bring it to you. Sean out.